We're all chasing some kind of extraordinary success, aren't we? Whether it's, financial freedom, peak health, better relationships. And we tend to look for this blueprint, the one secret hack that the superachievers have that we don't. We expect it to be complicated.
That's the default assumption, yeah. That huge success must come from these, huge dramatic actions.
Right.
But what if the truth was the exact opposite? What if the most powerful formula for success was already in your hands, and it's not about grand gestures, but about actions that are so small, so subtle, they're almost invisible?
That counterintuitive power is exactly what we're going to unlock today.
Yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into the core principles from The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Yep.
And this is really your roadmap to understanding how these simple foundational strategies, when you apply them with relentless consistency over time, create a difference so radical it honestly looks like magic to anyone on the outside.
And we should be clear right out of the gate, the author isn't just, selling a theory here. Hardy is a living example of this.
Absolutely.
He was earning a six-figure income by the time he was 18.
18.
By 24, a millionaire. By 27, his company was pulling in $50 million a year in revenue. I mean, that track record, it shows a deep understanding of how this stuff actually works in the real world.
And beyond his own success, his role as the publisher of Success magazine puts him in this unique position. He's an aggregator of wisdom.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
He's not just sharing his own methods. He's talking to the highest achievers on the planet, the CEOs, the superstar athletes, the top entrepreneurs, and he's distilling their core mechanics down to the absolute essence.
So our mission today is to really internalize that essence.
Yeah.
We want to get to the simple but honestly brutal truth about success. It is not about gimmicks.
No.
It's about a clear mathematical formula that involves consistency, discipline, and just plain execution. We want you, listening right now, to walk away with the practical knowledge to start harnessing this force immediately.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the foundational formula, the actual math, because it really dictates the entire process. This is the operating system.
It is. And the formula, it's deceptively simple. We should just state it clearly because it sets the stage for everything else we're going to talk about.
Go for it.
It's small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference.
And this is where it gets really interesting. And frankly, this is where most people fail because the steps don't feel significant. If I read 10 pages of a book today, my life isn't going to be measurably different tomorrow morning.
Exactly. The book really emphasizes that those initial choices are subtle. They're almost imperceptible. And because there's little or no immediate result, no big win, no obvious payoff.
The temptation to quit is huge.
It's massive. Why stick with a new budget if your savings account has barely moved in 3 months? It feels pointless.
I think we need the classic financial analogy right away because it's the best illustration of why our brains just struggle to grasp this. We're talking about the magic penny gambit.
Yes. Let's set the scene. You've just finished a project that took 31 days. You get 2 payment options.
Okay.
Choice A, $3 million in cash right now.
I'm listening.
Choice B, a single penny that doubles in value every single day for those 31 days.
Most people, unless they've heard this puzzle before, they're taking the cash instantly.
Of course.
Because let's be honest, for the first couple of weeks, the penny's progress it's pathetic.
It's embarrassing. On day 5, you have 16 cents.
16 cents.
On day 10, you're up to a whopping $5.12. Meanwhile, the cash chooser is feeling pretty smug.
And this is that critical psychological moment. You look at your friend who chose the penny, and they've got $5. You feel like a genius, and they feel like an idiot.
And get this, even after 20 full days, with only 11 days left, the penny has only grown to about $5,000.
20 days of commitment for $5,000 versus $3 million instantly.
It's the ultimate proof that our minds are wired for that immediate gratification. But then the mathematical curve starts to bend, and that invisible magic becomes very, very visible.
It's not until day 30 of the 31-day race that the penny even pulls ahead. It finally surpasses the $3 million, hitting about $5.3 million.
And that's the moment of maximum acceleration, that slow, consistent, almost invisible daily doubling. That commitment over time just explodes on the final day.
What's the final number?
On day 31, that compounded penny is worth a staggering $10,737,418.
Wow. More than triple the instant cash.
More than triple. And the key insight, what we all need to internalize, is that the choice that looked the worst at the beginning, the one that required the most patience.
It created the massive radical difference. The results look like a miracle, but they're not. They're just the predictable outcome of simple math.
And this compounding mechanism, it's not just for your retirement account. It works this way in every single area of your life.
Which brings us to the analogy of the three friends.
Exactly. Larry, Scott, and Brad, they all start out identically. Mid-30s, average health, average $50,000 a year income, maybe a little stagnant.
Larry is our control group. He just keeps doing what he's always done. He's the guy who says, I'm fine, I don't need to change anything.
Right. Scott, on the other hand, starts making these small, consistent, positive choices.
And his habits are a masterclass in subtlety.
They really are. He starts reading just 10 pages of a good book daily. He swaps his commute radio time for 30 minutes of instructional audio.
And physically.
He cuts just 125 calories from his diet every day. That's it. Swap soda for seltzer, maybe mustard instead of mayo, and he starts walking a couple thousand extra steps. These are not grueling changes.
Nope. Meanwhile, Brad goes the other way. He starts embracing these small negative compounds.
He buys a big screen TV, so he's more sedentary. He starts trying out these cheesy, high-fat casserole recipes he sees on TV, and he adds just one alcoholic drink per week.
Again, nothing that seems crazy or excessive, just these tiny little erosions of discipline.
Exactly. And the most essential part of this whole illustration is the results delay. For the first 5 months, even up to 10 months, you see zero difference.
Nothing. You'd run into them at the store, they all look the same. The difference is so subtle that Brad can easily justify his slide, and Scott can easily feel like quitting.
For sure. But it's not until the end of the 18th month that you start to see the slightest measurable differences. Maybe Scott's pants are a little looser.
But then it accelerates. By month 25, the paths are diverging fast, and by month 31, just over 2.5 years, the difference is visually and financially startling.
Let's put a hard number on it. By cutting 125 calories a day for 31 months, Scott has saved over 117,000 calories. He's lost 33.5 pounds.
Then Brad.
Brad, by adding 125 calories a day, has gained 33.5 pounds.
So there's a 67-pound weight difference between them now.
A 67-pound difference. And Larry, our control group, is just bitter and exactly where he started.
But the ripple effect is even bigger than the weight.
Oh, way bigger. Scott's disciplined consumption of that audio and those books has compounded into almost 1,000 hours of new knowledge.
Which got him a promotion and a raise.
And his marriage is thriving because he's more confident, he's more engaged. Brad, on the other hand, is unhappy at work. His marriage is on the rocks, all stemming from that slow slide.
The takeaway for you listening is profound. The compound effect, whether it's working for you or against you, is predictable. It's measurable.
Scott's success felt slow and steady to him. It was just daily execution. But to Larry and Brad, looking at him at month 31, he looks like an overnight success. They just say he got lucky.
And that explains the fundamental challenge. We all want the result of day 31, but we are unwilling to stick with the discipline of day 10. That's the barrier we have to break through.
So if the compound effect is the engine of success, then the fuel for that engine is your choices.
Right.
The foundation of this whole system is the belief that everything you experience in your life, good or bad, is an accumulation of choices. Every single decision, no matter how slight, alters the trajectory.
I appreciate that strong statement. But let's be practical for a second. If I decide to skip the gym today, that doesn't feel like it's going to derail my entire life.
That's the deception, right? Think of it like a spacecraft heading from Earth to the moon.
Okay.
If you stray off course by just 2 millimeters at the start, that tiny, inconsequential decision becomes a mammoth miscalculation by the time you reach your destination.
It's a huge miss.
A huge miss. And it applies to everything. Who you hang out with, what you watch on TV, whether you make one more sales call before you go home.
Okay, so the problem isn't the big, obvious mistakes, the elephant bites, as he calls them. The real challenge, according to the book, is sleepwalking through your choices.
Exactly. We are unconscious of the small, frequent, seemingly minor decisions that erode our success over time.
It's the mosquito bites.
It's the mosquito bites that bleed you dry. It's mindlessly eating that bag of chips while you're watching TV, or losing 2 hours to scrolling on social media instead of prepping for that big presentation tomorrow. Those are the tiny, unconscious decisions that compound into a massive negative result.
So to stop the sleepwalking, we have to move to the next vital principle, which Hardy learned at a seminar when he was just 18 years old, embracing 100% personal responsibility.
And this is a massive philosophical pivot for most people.
For sure.
The question at the seminar was about shared responsibility in a relationship, like a marriage or a business partnership. The common answers were, 50-50.
Or maybe 51-49 if you want to give yourself the edge.
Right, but the correct answer, the one that changes everything, was 1,000.
1,000, explain that.
You must be willing to give 100% effort, 100% discipline, with zero expectation of the other person or the world giving it back to you. And this concept means taking 100% responsibility for everything you experience. Not just what you did, but what you didn't do, and maybe most importantly, how you responded to what was done to you.
So I can't blame traffic for being late anymore.
You can't. You can't blame your spouse for your bad mood. If you do, you're externalizing control. You are not at 100%.
I can imagine that being incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
It means I can't blame the economy for my finances or my upbringing for my lack of discipline.
It's hard. But here's the empowering flip side. By embracing 100% control, you eliminate all excuses. You eliminate victimhood, and you seize control of your own destiny.
I already realized I was still 100% in control of me.
And that's an instantaneous injection of personal power. Even the idea of luck gets reframed. Luck isn't random. The book defines it as the moment when preparation meets opportunity, multiplied by your attitude plus action.
So luck shines on everyone, but only the people who are 100% responsible for their own preparation are ready to grab it.
Exactly. So if unconscious choices are the problem and 100% responsibility is the mindset, how do we actually do this? The secret weapon is introduced here. Tracking.
It's the critical first step.
It is. It's the step for achieving consciousness and control over your actions.
That sounds simple, but I imagine it's painfully necessary. Because, as the author says, you cannot manage or improve something until you measure it.
Perfect. If I don't know where my money is going, how can I save? If I don't know what I'm eating, how can I possibly lose weight?
And the requirement is brutal.
Yeah, it is. You have to track every single action related to the area you want to improve. Every dollar spent, every calorie eaten daily for at least 3 weeks without fail.
Why 3 weeks?
That seems to be the tipping point where the discomfort of doing it turns into a new level of consciousness. The mechanism is purely psychological. Tracking forces awareness. It stops the sleepwalking.
His personal finance story really drove this home for me.
Oh, yeah. Early in his career, making great money, and he suddenly finds out he owes over $100,000 in taxes because the money had, quote, passed through my hands like water.
That is a painful wake-up call.
A very painful one. His accountant forced him to track every single penny for 30 days. And he admits he started resisting buying things just so he wouldn't have to write them down in his little notebook.
So that friction, that tiny moment of awareness, was enough to break the unconscious habit.
It was enough. It cemented entirely new disciplines for him.
This is where we need to apply that compound effect math again to these small choices. That seemingly innocent $4 a day coffee habit.
It's not just $1,000 a year. When you compound that at 8% over 20 years, you're talking about a choice that costs future you. Get this, $51,833.
Wow. For coffee.
For coffee. And that leads directly to the future value principle, which reframes every small purchase you make.
Okay, what's that?
The concept is that every dollar you spend today costs you nearly $5 in 20 years because of the lost investment potential, assuming an 8% return.
Wait, explain it more clearly. So if I buy something small today, say a $50 gadget,
that $50 purchase is actually costing future you $250.
Okay.
So when you look at that crepe maker or that pair of shoes and ask, is this item worth $250 to me in lost future wealth? All of a sudden, that unconscious choice becomes very conscious.
That reframing is key. It transforms unconscious spending into conscious investing. Tracking is simple, but as he says, simple doesn't mean easy.
So we've accepted 100% responsibility. We've started tracking. Now we face the great execution hurdle. Consistency. Why do we keep going back to bad habits even when we know the math?
Well, the book argues that the trap is relying on willpower alone.
Willpower is a finite resource. It's like a battery. It fails because as soon as things get uncomfortable or that initial excitement wears off, people just revert to what's easy.
Right. If you rely only on determination, you'll just wear yourself out. We need something more sustainable, something he calls why power.
Why power. I love that term. It means connecting your choices, especially the hard, boring day 10 choices to these fantastically motivating core desires and dreams.
You have to want something and know why you want it, with enough conviction to sustain you for years, not just a few weeks.
And the visual analogy of the plank and the burning building, it just perfectly illustrates the monumental power shift that happens when your why is big enough.
Okay, lay it out.
Imagine walking a 10-inch plank on the ground for $20.
Easy. No problem.
Now, that same plank is placed between two 100-story buildings. You're not walking across that for $20. You probably wouldn't do it for $20 million. The risk is too high.
No way.
But if your child was on the opposite building and that building was on fire,
you'd cross immediately, without even thinking about it.
Without hesitation. And that's the point. The risk didn't change, the danger didn't change, but the why completely changed everything.
That is a visceral, powerful demonstration.
And it's the core insight. When the reason is big enough, you will be willing to perform almost anyhow.
This deep motivation has to come from a place that's deeper than just material goals, right? A new car, a bigger house.
Yeah.
Those can't recruit the heart, soul, and guts needed for the long haul.
Exactly. And this loops back to fulfillment. He quotes Tony Robbins. Achievement without fulfillment is failure. To tap into that superpower, you need to access your core values. They act as your internal compass.
It's also interesting that motivation doesn't always have to be positive and uplifting.
No, not at all. Sometimes the most powerful motivation comes from identifying an enemy. The book suggests it can be useful to hate something. Hate disease, hate injustice, hate complacency.
Or just wanting to prove the naysayers wrong.
Absolutely. The example of football coach Pete Carroll is fascinating. He said his early, intense drive came from feeling like a little dink because he was too small. That desire to prove his size didn't matter. That was the powerful fight that fueled his success.
So we have the motivation. Now we need to tackle the mechanism of change itself. Habits.
Yeah.
Which he compares to these deep-rooted trees that are a real pain to pull up.
They are. So to break these bad habits, we need some actionable strategies. The first and most crucial is to identify your triggers.
The big fours.
The big fours. Who, what, where, and when. Who are you with when the bad behavior happens? What are you doing? Where are you? And when does it happen?
You have to write these down because awareness is the first step. If you know that 3:00 p.m. on a Tuesday, when you hit a mental wall, is your trigger for a sugary soda, you can build a system to interrupt that pattern.
The second strategy is brutally simple but super effective. Clean house.
Literally and figuratively.
Yep. If you want to stop drinking, get all the alcohol, all the glasses, all the paraphernalia out of your house. If you want to eat healthy, you have to get the junk food out of the cupboards.
Why is this so effective?
Because it removes the need to constantly use willpower. You're not fighting a battle every 5 minutes. If the ice cream isn't in the freezer, you have to get in your car and drive to the store. That introduces enough friction for your conscious mind to step in and stop the impulsive decision.
Okay, the third strategy is the swap-it principle.
Or the Montel-Williams add-in principle. Instead of focusing on what you can't have, which feels restrictive,
you focus on what you can have,
yeah,
which feels empowering.
Exactly. Hardy satisfied his massive sweet tooth by swapping a 1,200-calorie banana split for 2 Hershey's Kisses. It's just 50 calories. He got the sweet hit without the damage.
You're replacing the need rather than just denying the desire.
Right. The final strategy for elimination is to decide whether to ease in or jump in. It depends on the habit and your personality.
Like a heavy caffeine addiction. That's probably better to unwind slowly. Wean yourself off with decaf blends over a month to avoid the headaches.
But sometimes a dramatic, cold turkey break works better. A pioneering cardiologist, Dr. Dean Ornish, found that patients often found it easier to change almost all their bad habits at once. Diet, exercise, stress to reverse heart disease.
Why?
Because the dramatic nature of the commitment provided its own powerful motivation, its own why power. It was so big it sustained the change.
So we've eliminated the bad, now we have to install the good habits.
Right. And installing new habits requires patience. John C. Maxwell noted that the secret of your success is found in your daily routine, and it can take hundreds of repetitions before a new habit becomes truly automatic.
So what are the techniques for installing the good ones?
First, set yourself up to succeed. Make the new habit as convenient as possible. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. Put your alarm clock across the room so you have to physically get up to turn it off.
Second, again, think addition, not subtraction. Don't focus on, I'm giving up TV tonight.
Right. Focus on, I'm spending an hour playing with my kids and an hour on my photography hobby. The new, better habit naturally pushes out the old, worse one.
Third, Seek a public display of accountability, or PDA.
Tell people what you're doing. The pressure of knowing others are watching forces you to be more committed, especially in the early stages.
I love the example of the coworker who quit smoking. She put a huge calendar in her cubicle and marked a big red X for every single smoke-free day.
She was highly motivated not to break that chain, especially in front of her colleagues. The social pressure provides crucial early-stage willpower support.
Fourth, find a success buddy.
A peak performance partner, someone who holds you accountable. Just knowing you have that weekly check-in is incredibly motivating.
Fifth is using competition and camaraderie.
A little friendly rivalry can be a huge motivator. When Success Magazine held a pedometer competition, people who hated exercise started walking 5 or 6 miles a day just to beat the other teams. The competition became the engine.
And finally, sixth, celebrate.
You have to. All work and no play is a recipe for quitting. You need to build in rewards, a walk, a massage, a nice dinner, but to acknowledge that you've stuck with a new behavior. It reinforces the positive feedback loop.
The final thought on habits is this critical mindset shift. Change is hard, and that's actually a good thing.
It is, because most people won't do what it takes, which means it's easier for you to stand out and become extraordinary. If it's awkward, difficult, or tedious, just keep doing it. That is your competitive edge.
Once those small disciplines are in place, you are ready for the fun part. Big Mo.
Big Mo, momentum. It's this enigmatic force of success that the author introduces using Newton's first law. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion.
We're talking about an unstoppable force. You can't necessarily see it or feel it until it's fully engaged, but once you have it, you become virtually unstoppable.
The best illustration is the heavy, old-school merry-go-round.
Right. Getting it started is agonizing. You have to push and groan with your whole body just to get that first inch of movement.
You feel all that resistance of inertia, but once it's spinning at a good clip, momentum takes over, and suddenly a couple of gentle pushes is all it takes to keep it going.
The same physical force that required massive effort from a standstill now requires almost none to maintain.
And crucially, momentum can work against you too. That's why couch potatoes tend to stay couch potatoes. Inertia works in the negative direction, just like we saw with Brad.
But for success, Big Mo is built methodically. It comes from making new choices, putting them into positive behaviors, establishing habits, building routines, and staying consistent over time.
We see this with world-class examples. Michael Phelps winning 8 gold medals. That didn't come from random bursts of effort. It came from 12 years of rigid consistency and routines.
In business, Apple and Google caught Big Mo. Apple was actually late to the MP3 game with the iPod.
They were. But once they caught momentum with the whole iTunes ecosystem, they became unstoppable.
So the key to maintaining this momentum is routine power.
Exactly. Routines make actions automatic. They take them out of the realm of choice and into the realm of necessity. Like brushing your teeth. You don't debate it, you just do it.
High achievers use rigorous routines, like in military boot camp, making your bed perfectly every morning. That small discipline prepares you for the chaos of bigger challenges.
Let's look at the incredible golf example here. Jack Nicklaus was famous for his pre-shot routine, a series of mental and physical steps.
So a psychologist timed him in a major tournament. And his routine. The timing never varied more than 1 second between the first tee and the 18th green.
That is insane consistency. And it provided rhythm, certainty, confidence. His body knew exactly what to do.
Compare that to Greg Norman, whose performance became erratic during a famous collapse because his routine sped up when he got stressed.
He killed his own rhythm. He killed his own momentum by becoming inconsistent.
Since you can't control the chaos in the middle of your workday, the author focuses on controlling the start and the end. He calls them the bookends of success.
And he details his own rigorous morning routine, which is a great template. First, it starts with gratitude. Just focusing on what he already has. That shifts the focus from lack to abundance.
Second, he consciously sends love to someone, a mental love letter. It focuses him outward.
Third, and this is crucial, he decides on his top 3 MVPs, most valuable priorities, for the day. And these have to be aligned with his #1 life goal.
By deciding these first, he basically inoculates himself against the chaos of inbound requests for the rest of the day.
Exactly. If you don't decide your MVPs, the world will happily decide them for you. Fourth, he does 10 minutes of stretching. Fifth, he sets a timer for 30 minutes and reads something positive and instructional.
That sets the mental tone for the whole day. Then comes the evening routine, or the cash out.
Yep. This includes an accountability review tracking his behaviors. Did he hit his MVPs? Second, tallying his wins for the day, no matter how small.
Third, planning the next day's MVPs.
And fourth, reading something positive before sleep. The mind processes the last piece of information you consumed, so you want to feed it something constructive, not the nightly news.
By controlling the bookends, you create this ironclad structure around the chaos of the average day. But the number one killer of Big Mo, the ultimate assassin of momentum, is a lack of consistency.
Consistency is your competitive advantage. Think of it like a flight from Los Angeles to New York. If you fly straight there and your competitor takes off and lands in every single state in between,
Even if they fly faster when they're in the air, you'll still beat them by a huge margin.
a huge margin, because of all the time and energy they waste stopping, starting, and trying to regain momentum. And that's how most people live their lives, in fits and starts.
The water pump analogy perfectly illustrates the cost of that.
It does. Getting the first few drops from an old-fashioned water pump requires massive, arduous pumping. That's the initial struggle of starting a new habit.
But once the water is flowing, you only need steady, consistent pumping to keep it going.
Right. But if you let go of the handle for too long,
The water drops all the way back down, and you have to exert that same massive, agonizing effort all over again.
and the critical insight there is when you miss a couple of weeks of anything, workouts, tracking your finances, you don't just lose the results from those 2 weeks, you kill Big Mo. You have to start the massive pumping effort from square one.
Winning the race, therefore, is about pace, not speed. Be the tortoise.
So we've established that you are 100% responsible for your choices. But those choices are still powerfully influenced by external forces.
Right. To sustain a positive trajectory, you have to understand and manage these three subtle influences: input, associations, and environment.
Let's start with the first one, input, what you feed your mind. Your brain is fundamentally programmed for survival, not happiness. It's constantly looking for the negative, what he calls lack and attack.
Which makes it incredibly vulnerable to negative news, which acts like dirty water, constantly polluting the glass of your mental state.
And the volume of that dirty water is just staggering. We have to put ourselves on a media diet. The book says Americans watch 1,704 hours of TV a year. That's 4.7 hours a day.
That's 2 full months out of every 12 spent consuming input, and so much of it is negative, sensationalist, and fear-based. That clutter just crushes your creative potential.
The action plan has 2 steps. Step 1, stand guard. Just refuse negative input. News, gossip, the negative tapes you play in your own head. Hardy realized 99% of the news had no bearing on his goals, so he screens it aggressively.
And step 2, enroll in drive time you. Don't just eliminate the bad. Fill that void with the good. The average American drives 300 hours a year.
If you use that time to listen to instructional audio, you're gaining knowledge equivalent to an advanced college degree every single year without adding a single minute to your schedule.
That commitment alone is a massive compound. It separates you drastically from the herd.
The second powerful influence is associations, the circle of 5. This is a profound concept. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
The health, their income, their relationships, their mindset.
All of it. The influence is subtle, like being pushed down the shore by a gentle current while you think you're just floating in place.
So the action plan here requires some courage. You have to evaluate and shift your associations into 3 categories.
First, dissociations. You have to completely cut ties with people who refuse to grow, who live negatively, who just drain your energy.
This is often the hardest step, because these can be family members or longtime friends.
It is, but the book is clear. Your decision to improve will make them uncomfortable, and they will subconsciously try to pull you back down to their level. You have to protect your momentum.
Second, limited associations.
This is where you time box interactions. If you have a negative friend you can't cut out, you spend 3 hours with them, not 3 days. Hardy talks about his 3-minute friend. He's friendly, but he keeps the interaction brief.
And third, expanded associations.
Actively seek out people who have the success traits you admire. Join organizations where high achievers gather. And you can get mentorship by consuming their books and audio programs, just like the author did for over 1,000 hours with his mentor, Jim Rohn.
I love his personal story here about driving across the bay to wealthy Tiburon, California, just to walk around.
Yeah, just seeing those beautiful homes and being in that elevated environment expanded his dreams. It fueled his ambition. He physically placed himself near the success he wanted to absorb.
Which leads directly to the third influence, environment.
You have to create an environment that supports your success. This means clearing physical clutter, but also Psychic clutter, incomplete promises, broken agreements. These things exert a massive subconscious draining force on your focus.
The crucial takeaway about environment is a challenging standard.
Yeah.
You get in life what you tolerate.
That's a powerful one.
If you tolerate being late, you'll be late. If you tolerate disrespect from a colleague, you'll be disrespected. If you tolerate being underpaid, it will continue.
Life literally organizes itself around the standards you set for yourself.
Finally, we get to the acceleration secrets, the levers to multiply your results once you have momentum. This is about going beyond what's expected.
This is where it feels like you have an unfair advantage because you're getting massive gains for just a little extra effort.
The book argues that success is ultimately determined by what you do after you hit the wall, mentally or physically.
Right. Those moments of intense resistance when your mind is screaming at you to stop, that's the exact same moment your competitors are facing that challenge. If you keep going, you put yourself exponentially ahead.
The multiplication principle explains the math behind this.
Wow.
In weight training, the 3 to 5 extra reps you do past your max are what multiply the results. The previous reps just got you to the point of growth. The real growth happens at the wall.
And in terms of consistency, the compound effect math is just staggering. If the magic penny was doubled just 1 extra time per week, only 4 extra days of effort over the month, the final result wouldn't be $10 million.
What would it be?
It would be $171 million.
Wow.
That slight extra effort results in a 17 times return.
That's the definitive proof of the ROI of going the extra mile. You can achieve this multiplier by learning to beat the expectations, creating a WW factor.
Look at Oprah giving cars to her entire audience. Or the author asking all 5 of his wife's brothers for their blessing, not just her father. Or the CEO who paid vendors a few days early.
That reputation for excellence creates its own big mo of goodwill and trust.
Or you can do the unexpected. Be a contrarian. Instead of sending Christmas cards when everyone else does, send Thanksgiving cards and handwrite a personal note. Same effort, but the unexpected timing makes the impact explosive.
The key is to find that line of expectation and then just step over it. Giving a little more time, energy, or thought won't just improve your results, it will exponentially multiply them.
We have thoroughly walked through this operating system for success, and it's designed not for overnight results, but for radical long-term change.
A compound effect is not just feel-good motivation. It's a mechanical tool that, when you combine it with consistent positive action, will manifest real and lasting success in your life.
And that core formula holds true. Success requires moment-to-moment positive choices, backed by a powerful why power, and executed with simple, consistent disciplines. Never again fall for the quick-fix gimmicks. Stay focused on the profound disciplines that will reliably get you where you want to go.
So here's the challenge for you, right from the book. Look back on your life 5 years ago. Are you where you thought you'd be today? Do you have the health, the income, the relationships you intended to have? If the answer is no, the reason is simple. It was the accumulation of all your choices, both conscious and unconscious.
It's time to commit to changing that trajectory. Choose to not let the next 5 years be a repeat of the last. When you hold true to your why power and stay fiercely consistent with these new, tiny habits, momentum will carry you forward. And you'll end up with a level of success I'm willing to bet you can't even imagine right now.
And finally, here's a provocative thought for you to chew on, something that builds on that idea of acceleration. The author found that whatever he wanted in life, the best way to get it was to focus his energy on giving it to others.
So if he wanted more success, the fastest way to get it was to help someone else achieve it.
Exactly. This ripple effect of personal philanthropy makes you the biggest beneficiary of your own giving. Your act of helping someone else achieve success actually multiplies the success of your own philosophy.
So the question for you is, how can you apply this concept today? Using the knowledge you just gained, the power of tracking, consistency, and why power, how can you help just one person start their own compound effect journey this week?